Welcome to Real People, Real Stories Raw. My name is Jay Rothman, and I am excited to have, coming in from Mumbai, India, Dr. Priya Saklani. Welcome to the studio.
Hi, Jay. Good morning. And I am so humble and so grateful for you to give me the space, this platform to come here in the middle of all the stuff that you were going through. You're just out of the hospital. So I am really grateful, eternally grateful for you to have me on your show and in your studio. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I want to thank you for coming in. If those of you that are not familiar with the time zone opportunities we have. When I do a show and I have a guest coming in, let's say from the UK or Australia or the Netherlands, today from Mumbai, India, we always have to figure out how to make it work. Thankfully, Priya is a night owl. She says that she does better in the evening than the mornings because right now it is actually 12 and a half hours past my time here on the West Coast of the United States, 11:34. It is after midnight for you. And you look like you have been renewed, refreshed, and you are ready. I mean, you look amazing. You look like it's morning time.
Thank you. Hey, it's my morning, Jay.
Yeah, you're right. It's actually good morning to both of us then. It's still both of our mornings here.
Yes.
As we take a few moments here to allow people to join us in the community, for those that are in fact joining us live, I'd like to thank you for being here and participating in the work that both Priya and I do from many seas apart, just a few lakes and oceans that separate us. But from the soul to soul level, we both show up every day with the same intention, is to show up doing the work for ourselves first, taking care of ourselves, and then sharing our experience, strength, and hope for those of you that are ready to step in and shift into high gear from surviving to thriving. And so I'm excited to hear your story, Priya. I did, in fact, buy your book, and I opened the first few chapters, and then I got sidetracked with some of my own challenges in the last 2 weeks. So I do intend on completing the book. It's called The Wounded Healer. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
And also, before we deep dive into your backstory, I was introduced to you I believe it was last year or
yes,
towards the end of last year by Jessica Alstrom. And I understand you have, in fact, been a guest on her show. You did a live with her when you launched your show, when you published your book, I should say,
yes.
About 6 months or so ago. So this is the second time you are showing up live in an interview format, live streaming on Facebook. Around the world, we have friends in our community that are from all over the world, not just from the United States or India. But welcome. It's nice to have you in the studio today. You and I have had many conversations since we first met, most recently in the last month or so. And I just appreciate how you have shown up in my life just on time.
Thank you so much, Jay. It's a real pleasure and a delight to be here, first and foremost. A little bit about myself. I would like to, mostly I want to encourage people to kind of buy my book because my book is all about my story, my journey, my memoir. But I will give you a little bit of brief about my journey. I am a complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is called CPTSD, trauma survivor of 19 years. So I went through physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, emotional neglect for 19 years of my life since I was born, since the day I was born. So my biggest abuser was my mother. Many relatives joined in and family friends. And then the cycle kind of continued till I was age 37, when my first marriage was kind of dissolved. However, till 19 years, I was at home, and then I left home to kind of find myself and to fend for myself. I got a job with the airlines, and I flew around the world for 12 to 16 years, the topmost airlines in the world. But I was kind of disassociated so much with my body, and that's when the PTSD and everything started showing up in my life, which I couldn't really make sense of it. I understood that it's obviously related to my childhood, but I had to show up for myself. I had to fend for myself, and I had to feed myself and clothe myself. So that part of me was like hidden, and there were like, I was leading two lives. There was one Priya which was hidden behind, and the world didn't see her, but there was one Priya who was this confident flight attendant who would be smiling and happy and doing her job like nothing ever happened to her. And this charade went on for many, many, many years in my life till I was 37 years, and till my marriage dissolved, till I actually was brought down like literally rock bottom. In my marriage, I was married to somebody in Pakistan, a Muslim national, Pakistani national. I was in Dubai at that time, and I moved to Karachi, Pakistan, and it was a very, very hard marriage and a very messy divorce. I had to kind of fight a court case in Supreme Court. I was the first foreign national woman who won the court case, but any which ways, I pretty much lost my life. I was homeless, I was penniless, I was jobless, and literally on the streets of Pakistan with nowhere to turn to. I didn't have any family to go back to. I didn't have any job. I didn't know. So suicide was my only option. And the only thing that stopped me from killing myself were my dogs. Two of them were adopted and two of them were my own. So they would like give me courage to kind of, I didn't want to abandon them. I didn't want to turn or be like the person who I married who had abandoned us on the streets. So for me, they just kind of gave me hope day after day, day after day. After finishing with Pakistan, I moved to India. And that's when my healing journey started, where again, suicide was always an option for me. I could always do it tomorrow afternoon. I could do it next month. But first, I needed to kind of feed my dogs and look after them. And for that, I needed to kind of look after my body and so on and so forth. So
Right.
I was always not a healer and a coach. So from there, here I am today in front of you, a coach who globally coaches people to heal their own trauma with my own example and choose to show up for themselves and heal themselves.
Priya, I'd like to just take a moment to invite you to take a nice deep breath and allow yourself to feel the stillness and calm. I'm going to invite you to take another breath in this moment and just relax a little bit. I want to also thank you for coming in and having the courage to share your story. It's one thing to write it in a book, but it's a whole nother level to step in an environment like this, a platform, and speak the words. To hear yourself speak the words is very different than when you're writing it. I know that because I have gone through the same process for myself.
Writing, yes.
Like to let you know that at any time, if I should ask you a question that you are not prepared to answer or you're uncomfortable, you can set a loving boundary with me and I will respect you and we'll just move on. My intention is always to create a safe environment for you as my guest to express exactly what you're feeling in the flow as you are comfortable sharing your backstory. One thing I'd like to go back to, you touched on, is when you were a flight attendant for the decade plus, I think you said 12 years, you described it, if I may paraphrase you, as almost as though you were living, you were two different people. In the moment, you were a highly functioning flight attendant by day, and at night you were this woman, this wounded child within. How were you able to? How did you manage that? What did that look like? And what type of toll did it take on you?
I was very good at, I can say, like hiding my pain. The pain would only come in my relationships or when I was alone or when I was homesick around the globe, Jay. But I wouldn't let you see it because that was something I was ashamed of. I was not really proud of. And at that part of my life, I didn't really want to share with anyone. So for me, the need to fit in, the need to be accepted and loved by the world, I had to hide because for me, it was my dirty, dark secret, which I didn't want to share with the world. So I did quite a nice job of hiding it behind inside me. But there were moments where I would fall apart and couldn't make sense of what's happening and why am I anxious and why do I have these panic attacks or why do I have these bouts of crying forever, for hours, and why do I get so hurt with simple things where people kind of can move on and they can handle it easily. But for me, I was highly sensitive. I am a highly sensitive person, plus the trauma. And then you have to kind of be something else outside in the world so that people don't see you for who you are. So of course, it takes the toll because you're suppressing everything inside. And that's when I started seeing the effects of my childhood trauma on my physical health, first and foremost. And then, of course, as years went by, on my mental health. So it's like, it took me some time to realize. And when I realized it, when I was like literally stripped bare bones by the universe in Pakistan, where I was like, it was one of the darkest times in my life, that divorce. And it was rock bottom of the rock bottoms where, I had nothing to lose. And that's when I had to really take a hard look at myself and my life, that was I just born to be abused and thrown away? Was I so unwanted? Nobody ever needed me. And that's when I had to like really redefine myself, pick myself up and find myself again. And I had lost myself chasing after people for love, for connection, but that love and connection never came, Jay. It never came, no matter how much I chased, because no external thing could fill in the void which I felt inside. It only came when I started to heal myself and when I started to heal my wounded child. So what I realized during that time was the most love that I needed was from me, because I was the one who was withholding that love from myself by not acknowledging myself, by not validating what happened to me, by not sitting with what I had gone through. So no amount I was running away, I had packed up the suitcase on the side, never looked at it. I had to reopen it to heal it. And that's when it kind of changed my life. I had to be totally honest with myself and totally authentic.
How did you begin to understand this? Because there's millions of women and men that have been impacted by abuse in their childhood. It doesn't matter if it's physical, emotional, mental, sexual, spiritual even. Abuse is abuse, and it impacts and causes deep wounds and traumas, as you shared. But most people, so many don't know how to begin on that journey that you just began to describe to us, of learning how to love yourself.
Yes.
What was your gateway for that?
First gateway was definitely divorce, and then coming to India. One of my friends gave me shelter to live because I had nowhere to go. And the second thing was the most important thing which kept me alive after that. My reason to live was my dogs, both my dogs, and I had to work. But my body had failed me so badly. I was 36 kilos when I left Pakistan. I was just bones, nothing else. And mentally, I was a goner. So what I understood, that if I need to work and fend for myself, first I need to heal my body to support myself and to support my dogs. When I saw what trauma had done to my body, I had fibromyalgia, I had IBS, I had lower back pain, I had chronic fatigue, you name it. I had everything possible, anxiety, right? Depression. Mentally, we're talking about that. So first, I really needed to get in touch with my body. I needed to redefine my relationship with my body, which, we don't understand that concept because our bodies have been abused as children. We don't understand. We don't respect our bodies. We don't know what to do with them. So first, I had to sit down and make friends with my body, understand it, start to nurture it, because I needed it to work, in the outside world. And then slowly, the information started coming in. I didn't really have so much money to go and seek professional help. And I had to be, unfortunately, my own coach. And it all happened so gradually and so beautifully because universe sent me signs, and universe sent me the books and the people and the videos and everything that I needed for my journey. I had it within myself. All I had to do was sit with it, with myself, honestly.
Priya, excuse me for one moment. You just mentioned the universe. at the onset, what was your relationship with the universe, with your faith? Did you have any faith? What was your relationship at that time like?
What a brilliant question, Jay. I had no faith. I had lost all faith in everything. I never really followed any organized religion. I had converted to Islam because I was living in Pakistan, and I did it voluntarily because I just wanted to, not to please my husband, but I was drawn to it and to the essence of it. However, when the divorce happened, I lost faith in everything. For me, there was no God. How can God be so unfair to do this to me since the time I was born? It never really made sense to me. So when I lost faith in everything, I'll tell you something very beautiful happened. I found faith in myself. The minute, and I said, there has to be something more. This cannot be the end of my life. So just in the search of that, when the answers started coming in and I realized that I'm the one who's creating everything. So I have nobody to blame, and the power still lies in my hands, even though it doesn't look like at this point in time. So that relationship built because there was still hope, and I believed in my own self. So I didn't look for any faith or anything outside of me. I started believing myself that, Priya, you can do it. Today was the day, you can do it tomorrow. One more day, one more day. That's how. So universe was within me, you see. To know yourself is to know God. So all the while I was searching for God and banging my head and getting upset with him, he was sitting right inside my heart, and I didn't even pay attention all my life till I was kind of forced to pay attention.
How did you reach him and or connect? What do you think was the gateway or the breakthrough moment?
To trust in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Because I survived. I could have been dead in Pakistan. I could have been dead anytime. The reason I was kept alive, I still believe there was some reason that why I was kept alive. And why do I still have that little bit strength to go on. Even though my body was weak, my mind was weak, I had nobody to hold space for me that way. But I knew there was something that was keeping me going. And then the angels stepped in, and your guides, and you get to know about them, and then you start having conversations with them. So my friends were always in the other realms because human beings had let me down so much. I had to look for friends elsewhere, and I found them in the higher realms, and my communication with them grew so strong even till today. It's just that I'm never alone. I'm so supported. And that gave me renewed faith, renewed strength, renewed confidence. And I kept going one day at a time, one breath at a time. So
were there resources? Because you said you couldn't afford help at the time. Back in the day, it was probably not a whole lot of coaches out there, but there were therapists. What resources were you reaching for, if any, to help expand your understanding of life? And I like to refer to it as your awakening.
yes,
that you were not at fault. You were not a bad person. You didn't cause the traumas in your life to unfold. But how did you get there? What were the resources, if any, that you were able to seek, or did it all come from just within?
Gee, I love to read. So certain books came into my life at that point in time, and the turning point, the book that literally changed my perspective was Autobiography of a Yogi. And then Abraham Hicks, Ask and It's Given. So for me, honestly, forgiveness and everything happened so swift overnight that if I have come here to experience this as this, I have chosen everything. My parents, my zodiac, my country, my soul lessons and everything. Who am I blaming? I can still stand up and change everything because I went through this because of my higher calling. So for me, it was so gradual and so swift. And then when I started nurturing myself and my body, I was literally being prepared, rather preparing myself for the work that I was doing right now. And it fell so beautifully in place because nothing outside was working. I tried for the jobs for 3.5 years, nothing came. But when I started doing energy work, I started healing myself. I started healing others. Oh my God, my healing was like, literally transformational. I would heal my mind. I started with my mind first, and then my body kind of followed suit. So it was like a beautiful journey, if you want to ask me. It was gradual. And so like I could see the evidence. I could see myself growing even through my pain or whatever I had went through.
How long did it take for you to start to notice that the physical diseases that had plagued your body from all of the emotional pain, how long did it take until you started to see a shift?
When I started healing my mind, see, when initially I would go to the doctors and do this, and they couldn't really find what was wrong. They always told me it's high stress, or you're highly sensitive, or you've gone through something traumatic now, so you're feeling like this. But when I started researching, when I started reading, when I started, like, I could see that what I'm stuffing inside forever, my stomach was kind of gone. I couldn't eat. I had ulcers. I couldn't drink. And the desperation to heal myself was so much that I really needed to get to the root of it, which I never had done in my entire life. So when I started kind of healing my emotions, I had to be accountable and honest with myself and look into what am I suppressing forever. When I started dealing with all of that, the work that I was doing on myself energetically, whether my chakras, my timelines, my aura, even to my deep down to my cellular blockages. So I went into this work so deep, Jay, and so wide, like as deep as I could go. When I went there, I could see my body feel lighter. Pain started vanishing. I started feeling easy. And then yoga stepped in, and then meditation, and like self-care rituals, slowly. I will do this because it makes me feel better. So I didn't put any time frame. For me, it was like one day at a time. How am I going to take care of myself today? What am I feeling right now? And what can I do for myself to make myself feel better today? Sitting with those emotions and not like anything uncomfortable, I would not sit on it for long. I would sit down and address it. So it's a journey. Even now, I wouldn't say I'm still work in progress. I'm still committed to my own progression. Now I'm so better at handling triggers. I'm so much experienced, and I know I'm so aware. The way I lead my life today, I know exactly what's happening, who's triggering me, who's pushing my buttons, where is the wound kind of creeping up. I can handle it beautifully, honestly. And I still tend to my inner child.
Let's dive into that a little bit, if we may, because you just had a great segue. I was going to ask you, when you mentioned being triggered and how to handle it, part of what I've learned in my own healing journey is, and part of what I coach my clients on is that in any given moment that we are triggered, what I find extremely helpful is to pause long enough to ask myself, how old am I feeling right now? Because once I'm able to identify my age in that moment of, let's say, trigger, wound, discomfort,
yes,
unease, and once I know how old I am feeling, then I can determine how best to parent myself in that millimeter of a second, and ask myself, wait a minute, are you hurt? Are you sad? Are you hungry? Are you lonely? Are you tired? Are you bored? What is it that you need from me right now? And then I could parent myself and just stop and take care of that little boy inside that is feeling whatever that emotion is in the moment. That is how I have learned how to take care of myself. I'd love to hear if yours is similar or what that looks like for you.
Absolutely, Jay. It's very similar what you are doing or how you kind of handle your triggers. So first, I needed to educate myself, right, with what's happening, and these are triggers, and this is PTSD, and this is this, because I had no clue. And then when I started doing my healing work and my coaching work and seeing people go through all of that and getting more like learning everything, where this is coming from, what are triggers, and how do you kind of nurture yourself through that. So it's exactly what you're saying. But because I am so aware, I will have a reaction. I will allow myself to have that reaction if I'm angry. But I'm also very quick to know you're feeling neglected right now, aren't you? You're feeling abandoned right now, right? So because my wounds were so severe, betrayal, rejection, Like I was given away the minute I was born. I was touch-starved. I don't know what a mother is. I don't know what affection is. So for my wounds, my core wounds were so deep of abandonment, rejection, betrayal, that they would show up. They would just show up for me to kind of heal them. So I am so quick to know that I'm feeling abandoned right now, or I feel rejected. And at that moment, I will sit down with myself and validate and acknowledge myself first. I need to kind of be honest. I'm feeling this. Then I will validate that inner child. And then I will give the assurance that I'm here for you. And nobody's ever going to make you feel that. And it's not this person's fault, but this person is mirroring what's already inside of you. So go inwards and heal that. So I need maybe more self-care, and I need more support group or help or from friends who are happy to meet my needs at that point in time. So I do various things where I have supportive friends who would help me at that point in time, who are there for me, and I have myself. So now I literally reparent. I treat myself like a little child when I go through those things. I'll take time off and I will look after my inner child. And then when I'm all okay, then I will kind of, be fine with the world. Not that I've stopped working or anything, but I have that special time literally dedicated to my inner child every single day. It's my spiritual practice.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's so important for
Yes.
our friends in our community to understand. Today we live in such a fast-paced society, and we seek answers very quickly. And one of the first places we go when we need directions on how to get from our home to an address we haven't been to before is we reach for a GPS system. And some of us type it in and off we go. And we put all our trust and faith in a GPS system to navigate us to our destination. Yet we tend to lack that same resource when it comes to healing of our own wounds and traumas and pain and pivotal moments that impacted our life. It's just like you touched on forgiveness, and I'd like to jump into that in a moment. But most of us grew up in homes, and go to school, go to a church or a synagogue, perhaps, a house of worship, and they all talk about we have to learn how to forgive others that have hurt us. And those are the words that typically are spoken, but there's not a whole lot behind those words. You have to learn how to forgive. You got to learn how to forgive. And then everyone's just like walking around and potentially feeling some guilt and shame, like, why am I still harboring such anger and resentment and injustice towards another human being? Because I'm supposed to be able to forgive them, but we're not given a roadmap. We're not taught, we're not held by someone else's hand and mentored and coached on how to find forgiveness at the highest level within ourself, within our soul. And so that's why I bring that up now, because I'd like to ask you, where are you at in your own process of forgiving the people in your life that had, in fact, shown up as your teachers, very painful, but showed up as your teachers?
Well, I have forgiven everyone, Jay. If I chose this reality and I chose these soul lessons and I chose everything, I need to thank them for these soul lessons. I don't need to hold grudges against them or have resentment against them. So they were my biggest spiritual teachers who were like literally here to help me on soul level. So if I look at it from that perspective, and I've always looked at it, the minute I got to know about it, I have always looked at my trauma through that perspective. And I promise you one thing, Jay, no matter what you do, that is the only thing that will give you lasting peace. Rest does not make sense. When you keep looking at your trauma, why this happened to me? Why was I bad? Or why was I treated this way? You are not going to get those answers from the third dimensional reality or where we are looking for. That you have to add that cosmic perspective into your healing journey to find that peace. And that's the only thing that made sense to me. And it gave me peace. Like I felt it in my heart that this makes sense. So I'm worthy, so I'm not bad. And so I don't have to live my life and use my trauma as a life sentence. I can really create something beautiful out of this. So my trauma literally gave me my life purpose. You see?
I'm going to repeat what you said because you're kind of out to a degree. If I heard you correctly, you said your trauma created your life purpose. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
I love what you just shared about that how you learned how to forgive is not to hold on to the pain and the grudge and the hurt, but to actually understand that each person that has touched your life with that toxic, let's say, energy and behavior has been there to be a teacher for you.
Yes.
And when we're able to look at each one of those experiences and ask the question, what did I need to learn? What was the lesson? Because
For me,
once we can identify what that lesson was in general terms, we are able to see the answer. And once we have
yes.
the answer, then we could thank that person for giving us the gift, because it is a gift.
Yes. For me, I think the theme for my life or the stuff that I went through, Jay, I feel it's self-love and showing up for myself and looking after myself. And you see, you choose these wounds because you're meant to learn how to heal these wounds, go through these wounds, how to heal these wounds, and you're meant to teach how to heal other people who are going through something similar. So it kind of beautifully sums up why do you go through what you go through, because there is a higher thing in that, right? Even though it's torturous and it's a lot of turmoil, and it's so if we don't, so for me, forgiveness really not was so important. For me, looking inwards was important and healing myself. Forgiveness came organically once I got to know what I was doing here. Who am I? Why did I have to go through this? What am I doing over here? What happens to me after I die? So like really real questions that I put forth, and the answers came. So when the theme was self-love, I had to really dive deep into self-love and start doing that. And then today I'm teaching others to do that. And people, and that's what my book is all about, like literally how childhood impacts your mental life, physical life, your life decisions, and how you can literally correct it. You do not have to stay limited. You don't have to live out those limitations. You have to give yourself permission to be happy because you're worthy and you're so deserving. And you can heal too, no matter what you've gone through.
In the healing process of our mind, how were you able to, I'm going to use the term biohack because it's a common term these days in a lot of circles that I run in. How did you, what was the, let's say the conduit for biohacking your thoughts and the tapes that you either heard someone else speak to you or that you created for yourself, which we know today is in fact not the truth. It's just a story, all of it.
Yes.
But how were you able to start to biohack your mind so you could heal those wounds and those stories that no longer served you because it was killing you? You were dying.
Yes, Jay, you know what I thought? That whatever I was taught any which ways, because of I didn't really have a relationship with my mother, and she was my biggest abuser. So whatever programming and conditioning she had done for me, because I totally kind of detested her and I didn't want to believe anything what she was doing. I wanted to do opposite of what she was telling me to basically prove my worth to her. I didn't really pay much attention to what she was telling me, though, even though it was programmed into my subconscious. So for me, if that didn't work, I really had to try something new, because I was doing that for 37 years. That didn't work out. Those tapes, those programs, you're not good enough, you're not this, because I was still working in the world and making my money and seeing the world and doing everything. So how can I not be worthy, right? But it's just that I had to completely unbelieve everything what I was told that I was and become a clean slate, brand new, that, okay, now what? Now what do I want to tell myself so that I can see the reflection in my immediate reality? I don't want to bring that past. Of course, it will come. Of course, I have to heal that as it comes. It's like totally going from full of clutter and all the voices in your head to completely emptying your head and saying, this is bullshit. I don't want to listen to it. I don't want to believe it. I really am not going to pay any attention to that crap anymore. That's what did to me. And that's what I used to tell myself, no, don't go there. That's not true. That's not who you are.
Did you learn or find that you had to learn how to change your words? The language that you spoke?
Yes, I had to be kinder to myself. I had to be less critical. Well, not at all critical to myself. Like, and this is the practice that I teach my clients world over, like literally, use your picture when you were a 2-year-old or 3-year-old and keep that picture in front of you. And now imagine that if that child was standing in front of you, would you be talking to that child like that? You wouldn't speak to a child like that. So start treating yourself like that child. Be kinder, be loving. And healing only happens when you change or when you give or do the opposite of what was done to you. So you cannot bring all of that toxic stuff into your present life and expect to heal. You have to change your ways. You have to change the ways you think. You have to change how you look at yourself. And childhood trauma literally corrodes your self-esteem, your self-image. It literally finishes you to the point where you see yourself differently and you see the world differently. You're seeing the world through your inner child lenses. And until and unless you do not heal your childhood wounds, those dynamics are going to be playing out in your entire life. Dynamics of betrayal, rejection, abandonment, trust issues, anything. They're not going, you can't outrun your past. So you have to that's what I talk about in my book. You really have to take your healing seriously and you really have to commit to your own healing. You don't have to continue to suffer for the rest of your life because you were abused. Because look, at that point, our choices were taken away from us by others. Today, we have a choice to heal ourselves. It's our responsibility.
Now, as you shared, much of the work you did was by yourself because you didn't have the financial resources to seek help. Yet today you are an established, world-renowned coach. You guide other women and men, perhaps,
Yes,
to the healing journey, the healing of their inner child and at the soul level. What are your thoughts today, having gone through this by yourself, for yourself, with yourself, as opposed to those that think they may not be able to afford a coach, a mentor, or a teacher to guide them? What's your experience in this regard?
once you commit to your healing, Jay, the teacher will appear. Once the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And once you take that first step, universe is going to open the resources for you. You just have to believe in yourself. And no matter how much darkness that you were dragged through, I still hope that you see your brilliance. Even if you can't see your light, I hope that this is for people who think that it's all dark. I still hope that you see your light because your heart is still beating inside of you. And even though you think that you can't push through, I promise you can. One step at a time and one breath at a time. So don't give up on yourself, please.
That just hit me. Anybody in the community that's watching right now, did that just hit you? I don't know how it can't. I'm going to repeat the words that I just heard you say. Just don't give up on yourself.
Yes.
No matter what. No matter what. I'd like to transition a little bit and jump back into, we touched on faith, we touched on spirituality, we touched on God. I'd like to ask you, from your experience, is prayer enough? And if so, why? And if not, why not?
See, you're any which way praying to your higher self, right? So yes, it kind of keeps you balanced and everything, but you still have to do the work. You can pray all you want. You can pray for guidance. You can pray for help. You can pray for balance and alignment and everything and support. You cannot escape the work. That's part of you growing here. That's part of your soul growth. You have to do your inner work, and that's how you evolve. Those are your lessons.
Beautiful.
Because praying is also your looking outside.
Yeah.
Go
ahead. I'm sorry.
You are giving that power away. Like your higher self is here. You're looking outside and saying, hey, help me, help me. So you're powerless at that time. When you start to do the work and when you start to look inwards, you empower yourself, and the power has always been with you. You just need to access that.
Thank you for sharing your perspective, Priya, because I'll admit this in a moment, it was somewhat of a setup question, because I am once again aligned with your perspective and your experience. I know thousands of people that lean into prayer every single day. And it's not thousands, it's millions around the globe, around the world, that put all their faith in prayer, and yet they're still right where they're at in whatever it is that they're in, suffering, some sort of suffering, whether it be emotional, mental, physical, and or spiritual. And my experience, speaking from my own healing journey, is that that wasn't enough. It is not enough, even in this moment.
Yes.
I need to take action
Yes.
for myself, with myself, and most of the time by myself, in order
Yes.
to at the soul level, at the inner child level as well. I need to have that time alone every single day. If I skip a day, it's like if you got this little kid, this little baby that's born, and you decide on this particular day you're too busy as a parent, so you don't have time to feed that newborn. What happens to that newborn? There's a good chance they may not even make it to the next day. If they're lucky and they do, they're going to be malnourished and lacking what they need to be healthy and strong. So why would I be willing to ignore my own inner child's needs one day of my life? I didn't understand that. I had no clue. I had no clue that my inner child was even alive. I thought he grew up with me when I became the young adult. And so I was living in ego space from the time I was a teenager. I took that into my adult life, and ego was running the show. Ego was in charge, in control my entire adult life, until one day I woke up. My life was out of control. I was near death. I was out of answers. I was out of solutions, and I was out of time. And that's how my healing journey began for me. I was at my rock bottom. And so I love that your perspective is that we need to show up every single day and start learning how to take care of ourselves. Not hoping that we meet the right partner, the right spouse, the right boyfriend, the right girlfriend. If just my mom or dad will be different, if my friends would just be different. No more time to wish for things that we don't need. We don't need other people to meet our needs. We only have to find it in one space, and we already have it. We just have to quiet down the idle chatter, the static that's going on in here, and start to do the healing work within.
Yes. Can I add something there, Jay?
Of course you can.
If you're operating from a space of fear and scarcity and lack and not love for yourself, your outside reality is literally being reflected by your inner reality. When you love yourself, you show up for yourself, you are there for yourself, you will be mirroring that out or reflecting that out. You will be attracting those kind of people who will love and respect you and who think you're worthy and will support you. So it's never outside, it's always inside. You see, the work's always inside.
Yes. Affirmed. God, I'm loving this conversation. I am so grateful that you and I finally connected after the new year, and longer than a new year, in early summer. I would like to also touch a little bit about on, we've really been focused on healing of the mind and of this at the soul level as well. But let's talk a little bit about the body. How has self-care or lack of self-care impacted or played into your own healing journey? How important is self-care for you, and what does self-care look like for you?
CJ, first and foremost, what I understood with my life experience and what I teach people, and that's the message that I want to give from my book. I want people to understand, and this is for normal people, yeah, not even people who are spiritually inclined, normal people. First and foremost, what you need to understand is I want people to connect the dots of their now life to their childhood stuff. Any issues that you're going through right now, whether it's mental, physical, in your body, they have their roots in your childhood. And this I'm saying even things like, let's say you're married 3 times. You can't quit smoking or you can't quit drinking. You have things going on with your body which your doctors can't help you with. You have everything going for you, but still you're miserable and you're unhappy. You need to look at your childhood. So in my view, your mental health and your physical health is not separate. I want people to connect the dots with whatever issues they're going through right now, mental, emotional, depression, whatever stuff has its roots in their childhood. And your body is only reflecting the balance of your thoughts. So my journey never started with my body first. It started with healing my emotions first. So whatever I was kind of holding on to energetically, anger or feeling of low self-esteem, lack of self-worth, not good enough, whatever, it was showing up in my body. So there was no point in kind of taking care of body first instead of healing the mind, because that way what you're doing is you're pulling out the weed without the root. So to get to the root cause of anything, you need to start with your mind. And this is my perspective, and I totally believe in it. So till the time you don't heal your childhood and those first 7 years, and whatever happened with you over there, you will continue to see that in your adult life. And you can see the issues which you're going through right now. And you know that studies have been done, research has been done, adverse childhood experiences. I mean, they have their link to adult onset of diseases, heart disease, liver disease, autoimmune disease, anxiety, panic disorders, weight gain, bulimia, so on and so forth. Everything is connected to what has happened over there at cellular level, the trauma that you have been subjected to. Once you heal that, your body with that ailment is only giving you a message. That pain is the only message that your higher self is giving you, because you're not going to listen any other way. That there are some changes you need to make. There is something that you need to address inside of you. Once you address that, once you've gotten the message, your body doesn't need to act in a way. You can literally reprogram your body. You can heal your body no matter what the physical condition is. That is how powerful you are. People who get cancer, why do you think they change their lifestyle overnight? They will go vegan, they will do yoga, they will do retreats and whatever, because that's a louder red flag. And what I tell people that, look at the small flags that your body is giving you. The small whispers. Don't wait for it to become like screaming, roaring lion. Your body is your friend. Your body is just giving you that message that, hey, you need to pay attention to something over there and heal. Once you understand that.
Yeah. You've heard the term, your body is your temple. Would we walk into a house of worship and abuse it? Would we walk into a house of worship and sacrifice it and hurt it, spray it with spray paint? Would we disrespect it? I'd say 99% of the people would say, absolutely not. But yet, we have no problem disrespecting our own temple, is our body. And you refer to it, I really like to refer to it as the signpost. One of my spiritual mentors, Dwayne, taught me what the word signpost means. We have the opportunity to see signposts when we're driving in a car, right?
Yes.
We miss the signposts that are in front of us all day long about our emotional health, our mental health, our physical well-being, and our spiritual. And part of the healing journey for me has been the gifts that I receive in any given moment of every day that I take one more breath. When I see a signpost, and it's not always like, some of them are like hazy, some of them are, you can't even really see them, you got to like dust it off. But there's so many that are presented to me that are put right in front of me. And if I'm not paying attention, I miss them. How do I miss them is if I'm not in the present moment, if I'm not in the here and now,
Yes.
my thoughts are either in the past, which tend to be dark and painful, or if they're in the future and I'm future tripping, because that means I'm just not here in the moment. I miss the gifts and moments, the signposts that are right here in front of me, because all I need to be focusing on is just this moment, just right here today.
Yes. For my, what I feel is, Jay, we don't learn to disrespect ourselves or our body when we come out of our mother's womb. Over a period of the way we were treated, we learn these behaviors. Okay? So let's say, for example, if I give you examples of mental health issues, let's say behavior problems, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, those are just the behavior or biological changes that your body went through while you were experiencing that traumatic childhood. And if you want to talk about the risk factors, or let's say health issues such as addictions, alcohol, substance abuse, so on and so forth, those are your personal solutions to the deeper problems within. So most people are very comfortable being uncomfortable. Headache or anything, we're okay. We kind of move through our whole life coping with all of this. You're meant to be 100% healthy. Your bodies can live on for years upon years upon years, but because of the belief system, because of the conditioning, because of what you have done to yourself, you know, you kind of lose out that battle. But once you understand what this intelligent organism, your body, is capable of, you can do so much. But you need to understand what is happening and where this is happening and why this is happening and how can I correct it. Awareness and education and knowledge is power in this case. Like, even if you're feeling stressed in your heart, you need to sit down with it. Why am I feeling this? Where is this coming from? Don't ignore it. Don't neglect it. Don't do that.
What do you think about the phrase? I heard this recently on one of the podcasts I listen to, because I invest every day at least 30 minutes of self-improvement time. It could be a YouTube video, it could be a podcast, it could be a chapter I'm reading in a book. That is different from self-care. Self-care is a separate category. That's
Yes.
365, but self-improvement. And for me personally, I'm not interested in reading business books and how to become more successful in business. Been there,
Yes.
done that. It's
Yes.
not, that's not the self-improvement I'm referring to. Not that I'm
Yes.
dissing anyone that wants to improve their success from a business
Yes.
standpoint. But for me, what do you think of this statement? Ignorance is a choice.
Absolutely. In today's day and age, definitely it is. You see, because you know what? It keeps us away from taking responsibility for ourselves. You will always see people saying that happened to me, or this one did this to me, or whatever. It's always outside the blame. It's very easy. Well, when we have to realize that we are creating every single thing within our body and in our mind, in our life by ourselves, we're the starting point. Very few people are going to understand that and start to work on themselves. And you know that by being a coach. How many people really come to you and say, you know, okay, I made a mess over here of my life and I take responsibility and I'm accountable. Human beings, we're not kind of programmed that way to take. We're always programmed to put the blame on someone else. It's very easy. So ignorance is so easy because you can just sit there and just say, it happened because of this, this, this. I think so. You think so? Makes sense.
Well, you know, in this day and age, absolutely, because if you go back 20 years ago, the information was there, but it wasn't very accessible. It was very difficult. But today, there is so much information and there is so much free knowledge. so much
Yes.
free wisdom available through the internet that
Internet.
wasn't there 15, 20 years ago. Um,
But I also,
there is, if you want to get well and you can't afford, or you think you can't afford to pay someone to help you, like yourself or myself, you can make progress in your life and your healing journey just by opening up your computer, your iPhone, your iPad. It doesn't matter what device you use, just get to the web and start putting in search engines the topics that you are aware of, you want to help yourself in. And there's so much free knowledge and information available. I'm not suggesting that everyone should go that route, because I think there is something to be said for when you work with a coach, you work with a mentor or a teacher like yourself, having someone hear your story, having someone walk you through unconditional love and no judgment, holding you up as you've made for the first time, have the courage to speak your truth and to begin a healing journey with someone by your side will in fact speed up the process. And there's a lot of shortcuts that I know you and I take with our clients that get them there. You know, in that GPS system we referred to earlier, they always
yes,
give you 2 or 3 choices on how to get to that same destination, right?
yes,
You can take the side roads, it's going to take you a lot longer. Or you could take the shortest route or the fastest route. And it's a choice.
yes,
But in fact, today you do have choices.
yes. It's, you should be wanting to get well, Jay. Ask and it's given. Universe is always going to be healing to you. You should be wanting to get better. You should be wanting to get help. And whenever you get that, and what you described, that like you and I had to do it on our own, I would still suggest people to find someone, one person even, to hold space for them. Because it makes so much of a difference when somebody's holding space for you emotionally, or even not doing anything, just being there. So don't go through it alone. Find someone. It's easy, honestly.
Priya, with what time we have left, because we are at the hour mark, believe it or not, it is now. Well, good morning once again. If you're joining us from Mumbai, India, like Priya is, or you're joining me from the West Coast of the United States, well, it is in fact still morning for you. It is 1 a.m. It is
Yes.
12:30 p.m. on the West Coast of the United States. I'd like to ask you in this moment, how are you feeling having had this conversation with me and all?
I'm feeling so brilliant, Jim. So recharged and so energized. I mean, honestly, grateful, of course. And it was such a powerful conversation. We could go on for hours speaking about so many subjects. When conversations just flow, well, there is no structure, you just kind of intuitively flow into things. And it's very hard to get like-minded people who speak the same soul language. So it was really brilliant interaction for me, honestly. And I really thank you for giving me this space. And even though you're going through your own challenges at this point in time, I so appreciate it. Thank you so much from my heart.
You're welcome. I would like to extend an invitation to you to come back in the studio and in the future, because I know that we could spend a whole studio time just on 1 or 2 topics and allow that to blossom like a lotus flower.
Yes. Oh, I would love to. Thank you so much for the offer, Jay.
What I would like to do is invite you to perhaps spend a few moments putting a pretty bow on a show, expressing some words that maybe one person that is watching us live or on replay today needs to hear, some words that may impact the trajectory of their own healing journey.
Wow. So I would like to tell people out there, and I'm talking to survivors who have gone through abuse, any sort of abuse. I want you to understand first and foremost that you're not alone. And secondly, what I want you to understand is no matter what you have gone through in your life, you can heal from it. I am the live example, living example. And all you got to do is believe in yourself. So like I said earlier, don't give up on yourself. Believe in yourself and just do it one breath at a time. And secondly, what I want to tell people is like, get serious about your healing. Don't be comfortable being uncomfortable, and don't kind of go through your life just being like using the trauma, or, you know, looking at your trauma and using it like a life sentence. It's not a life sentence. You can come out of it. You can heal from it. Yes, you have to do the work, and the work can be intense, but I promise you it's worth it. So, and no matter what you achieve outwardly, the money, the success, whatever, I'll tell you one thing: you cannot outrun from your past. Okay, it's always going to show up in your reality. It's always going to be showing up, whether it's money issues or health issues or mental issues or relationship issues. It is going to show up. So when you are holding that frequency deep inside of you of an abandoned child or a broken person, inside you're still broken. So you are literally creating your reality from that broken self and wounded self. It's going to show up. So till the time you do not heal your inner child and do not look inwards to do the work, you cannot really lead the life or live the life of your highest potential and true happiness. And you're meant to be 100% happy, 100% joyful, and 100% free. And you're so supported, you have no clue. So give yourself permission to be happy. Give yourself permission to lead this life and the purpose that you came here for. You're so unique. Universe loves you, and you're not just here by chance, and you're not here to suffer, and you don't have to continue to create that suffering just because something happened to us. So I encourage you to read my book. Read my book, The Wounded Healer. Maybe you will get some hope and some courage. And then I encourage you to sit with yourself for 5 minutes and ask yourself how happy I am in this moment. How is my life going? What is bothering me physically or mentally? Is my relationship fine? Is my money line fine? What is bothering me? And be so honest with yourself and start your healing journey. Don't neglect it. Do not postpone it. Just commit to it.
Beautiful. Priya, thank you for sharing your parting words, your closing thoughts. I would like to share a few of my own. As I shared, that I was taught recently the phrase, ignorance is a choice. What I learned early on in my healing journey is that we all have a choice. And that choice is this. It's this simple. We can choose to live in pain, or we choose to feel the pain. And the difference there is as simple as this. When we live in pain, we continue to live the life that we've been living with our wounds, our traumas, our hurts, our pain, our physical, our emotional, and our mental traumas that have impacted the quality of our life. Some of us reach for addictions. We drink too much, we smoke too much, we eat too much, we gamble too much, we shop too much, we have sex too much, whatever it is. I had 5 of my own addictions, and addictions weren't the problem. The addictions were there because I was choosing to live in the pain instead of having the courage to change.
Yes.
My life was saved. I am alive today with a life purpose that I never imagined was possible because I made the decision to feel the pain. And through the process of feeling the pain, I was able to heal the pain.
Yes.
And today I'm able to pay it forward to others to guide them along the healing journey, just as you are. And with that, I want to also say that the traditional means of seeking help is no longer the truth. You don't need just to see a psychologist or LMFT or a therapist or a social worker in an office space, sitting across from them. The way people are healing today, the way people are coming home to themselves, to their inner child, to this at the higher self, at the soul level, and becoming whole again.
Yes.
Is through video coaching, like what you do and like what I do. 99% of the people I work with are not nearby. And when they are nearby, I am not coaching them in an office. I am not working with them in a sterile environment. We either meet on a trail, we walk together, or sometimes we may meet at a local coffee shop if in fact that individual has an injury. But if they don't have an injury, we are not sitting. We are moving together. And through that, through the nature moving, nature bathing, nature talking, a safe space in nature with the birds and the sounds that we hear out here in a desert, even
Yes.
the rattlesnakes in a near distance, we begin a healing process. And the breakthroughs just come, they happen. So we can break the old paradigm that we need to be in the confines of an office space and we need to be in the presence of a therapist. I coach people as far away as Australia, the Netherlands, the
Yes.
UK, Canada, and everywhere across the USA. The only thing that separates you and I from getting well together is courage.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Jay, I just need to add one more thing. What I have discovered in my own healing journey, which I was kind of avoiding, and I want people to understand that the cure for their pain is in the pain. So as humans, we are programmed to kind of run in the opposite direction of our pain. But in order to heal, you need to feel your pain. You need to process it, release it, and let go. You don't need to make the pain your enemy or shut it or suppress it. You're never going to heal by suppressing it or avoiding it.
Beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. That's exactly it. So every day that I choose to get up and get out and move and hike and walk and climb sometimes, do
Yes.
spiritual practice, I have shared most recently that I do that in physical pain every single day. At this point, I haven't figured out how to avoid it other than if I choose not to show up. But I understand as I'm in that hike, as I'm climbing some boulders, as I'm in that moment, I embrace the pain because I understand that it's there to teach me a lesson.
Yeah.
But I believe that when I have completed the lesson, the pain will dissolve, the pain will
Yes.
vanish.
Yes.
For me, it's just a reminder that I have to show up each day because there's more work that I'm doing for myself. And then through that work, I get to share it out and lead other people along the path of sitting in the pain, walking through the pain, and healing it, as you just eloquently shared.
Yes. Absolutely, Jay. And you're an inspiration. Even for me, you're an inspiration. That's brilliant. And what you're going through right now and how you're holding space for yourself and what you're doing for yourself and how you're showing up for yourself, that's commendable, incredible, honestly. And I so support you with holding space for you, even though we're far away, but spiritually, energetically, sending you light and the work you're doing for others. I mean, bringing even people like us out to the world to share our work so that more people can be helped, even while you have your own challenges. That is incredible, honestly. It's brilliant. I'm so blessed and so grateful to have found you and for you to be a part of my journey. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Priya, thank you so much for your kind words and love expressed to me today. I look forward to the next time we get together and share space together and hold space for those that are perhaps surviving now, suffering and pain of some sort, that we together can provide inspiration for one person to impact change in their life.
Yes, Jay.
And with that, I'd like to thank those that caught us live and on replay. We need you to show up each time that you support us through investing time with us and sharing your comments and questions and thoughts. It's why we show up. You inspire us to show up. And so with that, thank you for joining us today, this evening, and this early morning out of Mumbai, India. Priya Saklani from Real People, Real Stories, from Surviving to Thriving. We'll catch you next time and have an incredible day. I love every single one of you.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you.